There's a few kind of exercises that you can do, practical exercises. I know you like practical exercises on this show. The most fundamental, basic exercise is...
In the Micka show, we highlight practical methods to create a meaningful impact in our personal and professional life. Thanks for joining us today, and let the show begin. Hello, dear audience. Hello, dear Mike. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you today. Actually, I wanted to jump in the topic. I want to say congratulations to you to your recent milestone. 1 million followers on Project Elon. Oh my God. Creation of a new company.
Yeah.
Playstack. And you just got married, right? Show us the ring.
All in the last 3 months. Literally all of that has happened in the last 3 months.
That's awesome, but I'm sorry for you ladies. The man is taken. Game over. Okay, chill. But here's the thing. You are obviously very successful. You are.
Well, my definition of success is slightly different to the traditional definition of success.
Tell us more.
The traditional definition of success is kind of surrounding two components, wealth and status, right? And they often come hand in hand. So if you're wealthy, you often have status. If you have status, then you often come wealthy. Mm-hmm. However, I feel like the definition of success needs to be redefined. And I can tell you my definition of success. So my definition of success is having 4 components in your life in check. And these are health, wealth, people, and happiness, right? So just going through them really quickly. Mm-hmm. Health is quite self-explanatory. You can get out of bed in the morning. You can go to the gym. Wealth is a bit misunderstood. This doesn't mean that you have to be a multimillionaire, right? It doesn't mean that you have to have a Lamborghini on your driveway. It means that you're not opening your paycheck every month and you're full of stress and anxiety because you don't know whether that pay will cover your rent and cover your bills, right? So just having enough money to look after yourself, to invest in the future, to look after the people around you, to give back. So that's the wealth pillar. The people pillar. Now, the people pillar is really interesting, and I think that you'll resonate with this, where the people around you are so important. The relationships that you have, your spouse, your work colleagues, your friends, they're so important. There's a study, an ongoing study, and it's an 80-year-old study. It's led by Professor Robert Waldinger. What they found with this Harvard study was that the people around you is the single most important component to having a happy life. The strengths of the relationships, whether you have negative people around you, whether you have supportive, positive people around you. So that's the people pillar. And then the happiness pillar, in theory, if you have health, wealth, and people in check, then the happiness should follow, exactly. So that to me is my kind of balanced definition of success.
So, but how can we really measure it? How can you measure our own success with these 4 pillars? Yeah,
so there's a few kind of exercises that you can do, practical exercises. I know you like practical exercises on this show. So the most fundamental, basic exercise is you write down these 4 pillars on paper, right? So health, wealth, people, happiness. And then you basically do a brain dump for each column, right? So for health, all the most important components in your life relating to health. So these might be going to the gym. It might be getting 8 hours of sleep a night. That's a big one. Like a lot of people don't do that, but getting 8 hours of sleep a night. And then for wealth, it might be learning Vietnamese if you're in Vietnam, because I know for me, if I learned Vietnamese fluently, it would open so many doors in my business life. So that would be a massive component in my
asset.
Yeah, exactly. And so you do that for every component. So that's the first step, right? The first step is basically a brain dump. What areas are important to you? The second step is taking action. So I think it was Tony Robbins that said that knowledge is not power, knowledge is potential power. Knowledge is only power if it is followed by action. And it's so frustrating as running a YouTube channel, a personal development YouTube channel. And I see this in the back end. I see viewers watching my videos, like they'll watch one video, then they'll watch the next video, then they'll watch the next video, which is amazing for me. But then what's not so amazing is then they'll close the tab and then they would have learned a lot, but then they don't do anything about it.
How do you know?
Because they come to me, like I get hundreds, if not thousands of people asking me, I've been watching your videos for years, and then they ask me, how do I improve my grades? Right, so they're not taking action with the things that I'm talking, and that's why I started my courses where it really focuses on taking action. So going back to the second practical step is taking action. So for every component, you would have one actionable goal, just one, like out of all of those, out of all the components that you wrote down for each pillar, you would write down one goal. And so you'd have 4 goals in the end. The more goals you have, the more spread out your resources have to be, right? So if you just have one goal, and you put all your time, all your resources towards that one goal, you're probably going to achieve it. If you have 20 goals, you have to split your resources between 20 goals, and you're probably not going to achieve one of them, right? And so we have 4 goals, one for health, one for wealth, one for people, and one for happiness. And so just as an example, it should be measurable, and it should be achievable. So for example, for me, it might be getting 8 hours of sleep 7 days a week. Right, just very basic like that, something that you can measure, and you do that and then for wealth, it might be learning Vietnamese 30 minutes, 6 days a week, right? And then you do that for all 4 pillars, and that way you're kind of splitting your resources equally between all 4 pillars.
And when it comes to practical things, do you use an app? Do you write things? Do you use on your tablet? What is your accessory?
Yeah, so there's a few apps that you can use. I use Streaks, Streaks. There's other apps such as Habits. There's another one called Habit Hub. There's quite a lot out there. And what's nice about them is that it gamifies the habit process, right? So the idea here is that you want to have all your boxes ticked. And if you don't tick it that day, if you miss a habit, then it will show up as red. And the idea here is that you have, for the whole 7 days, you have an unbroken chain. And that's the idea with the apps. And they are actually really very helpful.
I was wondering, why is it so important to keep working on these 4 pillars at the same time?
Because, and I think that most people watching this can resonate when I say it's so easy to get so kind of swept up with our work, right? So working 12 hours a day, 13, 14 hours a day. And it's very unlikely that if someone is working crazy hours, then they're probably neglecting other parts of their life, right? So if someone's working crazy hours, they're probably not going to the gym. They're probably not going or getting 8 hours of sleep a night. They're probably not eating healthily, right? And so their wealth pillar might be growing, but at the detriment of the other 3 pillars. And that's quite a big problem, especially with the hustle culture that we have right now, where it's almost trendy or fashionable to be working all of the time, right? And I think that we need to focus not just on productivity and not just on hustling and working hard, but really sustainable long-term productivity. Because if you don't focus on long-term sustainable productivity, then that's when burnout happens. That's when you start getting overwhelmed, you start getting stressed, and it's just not a good long-term strategy.
I like the fact that you associate, through this method, you associate success with a very balanced lifestyle, actually. So success will come thanks to this balance we have in the 4 pillars, to the good habits. So it's like a constant state of flow, I would say, with the universe, where you have to focus on everything a little bit. So it teaches also, I guess, time management, how you use your energy in different directions.
Exactly, and they all work together, right? So for example, I mentioned getting 8 hours of sleep a night, and then that will also help with the wealth pillar, in that you'll be more awake and you'll be more effective and more productive when you are actually working. And then let's say you're focusing on your health pillar, you're going to the gym. That will also help with your wealth pillar. So you might not be working 12, 13, 14 hours, but the hours that you are working, you're being far more productive. The idea here being that you're working more efficiently. Yes. And so if you're just working, let's say 8 hours, for example, the idea here is that you're working so efficiently that you can have the same level of output as someone hustling at 12 hours a day.
It's like the 4 hours work week.
Exactly.
And I was wondering, okay, let's say now we are good with the first habits of the 4 pillars. Like we sleep 8 hours a day, we exercise 30 minutes a day, we learn Vietnamese, we are happy. What's going to be the logical progression? How we can improve ourselves, like to get more successful and more successful? Yeah,
so there's a few things here. I love daily habits because every day you're just making 1% improvement, right? So every day you're just making 1% improvement. And if you if you keep making this 1% for the next year, by the end of the year, you're going to be 28 times better, right? It's called the 1% rule. And James Clear, from the author of Atomic Habits, he popularized it a few years ago with his book. But it's not a new concept, right? So the Japanese have been using it since the 1940s, just after World War II, with their business operations. So Toyota is the famous case study that's often used, where they just improve every area of their life. With Toyota, every area of the production factory, just very, very incrementally. And so that's what we do with Product Elon. If you look at the YouTube videos, even just a year ago.
Project Elon, guys, subscribe. You have to be among the 1,080,000, otherwise not good, not good.
So if you look at the videos a year ago, they were terrible compared to what they are now. And then a year before that, they were terrible compared with the year after that, right?
Are you telling us that we can get even better than
this?
That's
the beautiful thing, in that I know for a fact that in a year's time, this show is going to be way better if you do implement and I know the guys behind this production, and they will be implementing the 1% rules themselves. And so that's the exciting thing, is that when we think that we've kind of hit the ceiling, the 1% rule kind of pushes us into it. And like I say, the Japanese have been using this since the 1940s. They call it Kaizen, which is a Japanese word for continuous improvement. And that's all it is, just making a conscious effort to continuously improve 1% at a time with all 4 pillars of your life.
Oh, wow. You already answered to the question I had after. It was like, why do you think this method is so efficient? But basically you just said it. The most important is like baby steps, but every day, consistency and discipline.
Yeah, and also it takes advantage of the compound effect or the snowballing effect, right? So every day you're probably not going to notice much difference, but after 6 months of implementing the 1% rule, you look back and then suddenly you see how far you've come, and then in a year exactly the same. So it's like most days for us are mundane, right? So most days we're kind of doing the same thing. They're not like spectacular. So for example, we hit 1 million subscribers recently. That was a spectacular day. Yeah. That was a big milestone. But those days come very, very rarely, right? So maybe like 4 days a year, something like that, where you hit a big milestone. But most days are just mundane and you're just grinding, right? But it's those days that are mundane that make up 99% of your year. It's those days that you really have to look back and think, okay, what happened today that I could improve on? And then build up from there. Because a lot of people, they let life just pass them by. And so they don't learn, like even just a tiny, tiny thing, they don't learn. So therefore, the second day, they haven't grown anywhere. So I think it's really important just to, even at the end of the day, just spending, and I think journaling is really good for this, just spending 5 minutes. Okay, what happened today? Where could I improve for tomorrow?
I like this idea that not only we are working, but we're also taking time to reflect, to learn, to improve ourselves. So I think this method is to become successful, but at the same time to become happier, more productive. It touches so many aspects that you guys can use for your own life.
Exactly. And I think also building a YouTube channel it's one thing building a YouTube channel, but a lot of building a YouTube channel is building yourself up, right? So for example, I had to get better at marketing. I had to get better at graphic design. I had to get better at filming. It's all on me. It's the same with a business. If I want to grow a business, I need to work on myself first before I can grow a business.
I agree with you. It all starts with us, guys. It all starts with you. Mike, because for me, you also like the guru of productivity, and we talk about success, productivity. I was wondering, do you have an advice for people who struggle with both productivity and success? Where can they start?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest kind of game changers that I've implemented in my life, when I started university actually in 2014-ish, what I did was I woke up at 4:45 a.m. every single day, 7 days a week, even Sundays. Right. And by doing that, you create a habit, right? So you train your brain. As soon as you wake up, you just like brushing your teeth. Like I'd imagine most of us, we don't wake up in the morning and think, should we brush our teeth or not? Right. Sure. We just do it automatically. And this is the idea of automating your actions. So I woke up at 4:45 a.m., got ready. I either went straight to the gym. If I didn't go straight to the gym, I would go straight to the library. And I'd be at the library at 7 a.m. I'd be the first person there. Right. And then I'd get 4 hours of deep focus, deep work in, right? So this idea of being in a flow state, and if you can train yourself to enter into a flow state, almost like flicking on a light switch, like if you can train yourself to do that, it will make so much difference to your productivity. And flow state, it was first popularized by a Hungarian American professor called Mihai Csikszentmihalyi back in the 1960s and 70s. And then Cal Newport, he wrote a book on it, a very famous book called Deep Work, and he popularized it even further. But it's this very powerful state where when you're working, you forget about everything going on around you, right? So you forget about the time, you even forget that you're hungry, you forget about like anything. If you're in a coffee shop, any kind of distractions, you don't even notice them because you're so focused on your work. And a lot of people get this when they're gaming, right? When they're so involved with the game. Like when I was a kid, I could game for like 10, 12 hours a day. So it's utilizing that same strategy into your productivity. And so what I do now, my team know that I'm not very responsive first thing in the morning. So I'll get to a coffee shop at 7 a.m. every single day, 7 days a week, and I do 4 hours of deep work. This means I turn off notifications, I don't respond to emails, and my team get a little bit annoyed because I'm not very responsive, but they understand that I'm in 100% deep focus, and I do my most important task of that day, and I get it done in that 4 hours in the morning. And then in the middle of the day is more shallow work. I'd have more meetings, more kind of creative things. And then in the evening, again, back into deep work because I'm matching the task with my biological peak times. And for me, naturally, I'm most energized in the morning and in the evening. And then my energy levels kind of decrease slightly in the middle of the day. And so I match the tasks with my biological peak times.
I want to ask you a follow-up question. When you mentioned this state of flow, these 4 hours of work you do daily, do you use another method inside, like Pomodoro or something else, to also maximize these 4 hours of deep working?
Yeah, so Pomodoro is incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I bought a dedicated timer, and
really?
it's just like a $10 timer. But I realized if I have my phone there next to my laptop when I'm working, the phone, just the fact that your phone is in your peripheral vision, it's a distraction in of itself. So I put my phone behind my laptop, and then I have a timer here, and all it does is one thing. It just does the time, right? And then having the Pomodoro timer, 25 minutes, and then a 5-minute break. What I'm starting to do is 1 hour work chunks, because this is the idea with training yourself to be able to focus or to enter into a state of flow, where at the beginning, back in 2014 at university, I was also having 25-minute study chunks and then a 5-minute break, like traditionally, right? Yeah. But what you'll realize is the more that you do it, the easier it is to stay focused. And so you can increase that 25 minutes to 40 minutes to 50 minutes to 60 minutes, the more you train yourself to focus, right? So at the beginning, you might even start at 10 minutes, like just 10 minutes of super focus, but then the next day, increase it to 11 minutes. And then the next day, increase it to 12 minutes. And then you would also understand why you get distracted. That's important in terms of what was it, social media? Like what was it that took your attention and stopped you from focusing? And then the next time you have a study session or a work session, you would try and fix that. So if it's social media, then you might, I don't know, log out or move your laptop away and just use textbooks, for example.
I think I also very like the approach that you have, like learning, improving ourselves and enjoying what you do. It's like when you talk about the state of flow, like I can feel you really enjoy this. Like each moment that you have in your day, it's like you organize it the way that you want, the way that your body also feel it. And it's like I guess that's how you get successful and happier when you're in alignment with your body, with your desire, with your biological rhythm.
Absolutely. And this is important because productivity shouldn't be kind of this uphill battle. It should be a streamlined process. It should be a fun process. And that's why I'm really big on automating actions, like automating your work sessions in the morning, for example. And that way you're not you don't have this argument in your head. Should I work? Should I not? Right? You just do it because it's automated, and that's how you streamline the process.
Like brushing teeth.
Exactly.
You don't ask yourself, it's just part of your life. You just go to a coffee shop, you do it with your heart, and you're there, and then you're happy because you've done it, and the day you reflect and you just do it again. So it seems like a game, actually.
Exactly.
It's a daily game, right?
And that's why I talk about the Habits app. You can gamify it and just make it a bit more interesting. It's the same like entering into a flow state. It's a really fun experience. It's a very engaging experience that you're not getting distracted. You're just so focused in your work, and that's where you produce your best work. So it's like a win-win, really.
Wow. I love it. It's very inspiring to talk to somebody also who is into this flow, and it's nice to discover little tricks, little habits that can have a huge impact on our daily lives. Thank you, Mike, for that. Before we separate, Before we go apart, I have one last question for you, Mike, the one that we ask to all our guests. According to you, what can we do daily to improve the quality of our life?
So we've talked a bit about habits. I think in terms of improving your life, one of the best things you can do is implementing self-education as a habit into your life, integrating self-education into our daily lives. And we've like Google and YouTube, like endless databases of information. Any question that you have, you can type it into Google or YouTube and within 5 seconds you'll have an answer. Like that is insane. I really think that YouTube and Google should be as kind of pioneering or seen as pioneering as the invention of the TV in the 1930s, right? It really is that big of an invention, in my opinion, in terms of how much of a game changer it is. And so in terms of self-educating, like, what do you want to get better at? Like, what area of your life do you want to get better at? Are you struggling with finances, right? If you're struggling with finances, okay, spend 30 minutes a day learning about budgeting, about saving, about investing, about leveling up your career so that when you enter the market, your value is higher, right? If you do that 30 minutes a day for 30 days and you take action, that's important, and you take action, you will be in a far better place in just 30 days. And every single person can do it, whatever they want to achieve, whatever they want to aspire to. I still do that every single day. I started my kind of educational journey back in 2013, 2014. Self-education, in terms of just watching educational YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, watching documentaries, instead of maybe watching Friends on Netflix, for example. I would watch a documentary on Netflix. And again, it's the compounding effect where you're not going to notice much difference in a month, in 2 months. But in a year, if you implement self-education into your life, you will see massive changes, and the people around you will see massive changes as well.
That's very inspiring. I think I should apply this as well. You know, we all should do it. And again, one thing that I really love about your approach about life in general, like it's a constant leveling up. We keep going in this flow. It's like a river. There is always a stream. It's like never stop. Yep. Basically, never stop, and just keep going. Stay positive, nice towards yourself, and yeah.
Absolutely. And everyone's a student, right? And everyone should still be a student, even though we've just hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube. I'm still learning from very small YouTubers. Like, there's still things that they're doing well. Even it could be kind of a mindset, or even, like, there's so many things.
The makeup.
Exactly. I was going to mention that. Even coming to this show, there's so many things that I've picked up that I can then implement into my own YouTube channel and elevate that level. So yeah, everyone should continue being a student. It's a good mindset to have. Thank
you, Mike, for being so humble and so inspiring. Where can we find out more about your courses and about yourself?
Yep, so if you're interested in productivity and personal development, you can just type into YouTube or Google Product Elon. You'll find me there. We just started a new company a few months ago called PlayStack, where we basically build YouTube channels for our clients. So if you're interested in growing a YouTube channel, then you can head over to PlayStack. Just type it into Google and find us. Amazing. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for having me. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to both The Micka Show and Project Elon. And I hope to see you very soon. Likewise. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Oh, come here.